Alright, tonight we're going to work on the Neo Geo. I just got a package in the mail and that we're going to go ahead and take a look at, and we'll open it up and see what it is and hopefully get that thing installed tonight. I'm very excited for this. This has been shipped internationally, so we'll go ahead and let's take a look and see what it is. Alright, let's take a look at this package I just got in the mail. This is from DJ Legion over in the UK. This was sent by Royal Mail. Airmail over to me here in the States. I'm excited to check this out and see what he sent me. Actually, I do know what he sent me, but I do want to show this to you guys. I'm kind of excited about this. As you guys know, with things like the Neo Geo, we have some common issues. And hopefully, DJ Legion can fix some of these issues that we've got. So, as you guys can see, he's got a replacement that he's been working on for the EL panels to switch them over to be LED. And he's come up with his own board set and panels that he's been working on and prototyping. So I've been sent the prototype one, and we're actually going to check this out and see how this all works and install it and see how easy it is to install. It actually looks to be quite easy. It's got a connector for power. We're going to the MVS, and then we just got to put in our 4 EL panels. We should be good to go. So let's go ahead and take a quick look and see what everything in here looks like. Alright, so we're inside this box and everything looks like it's packaged really well. Got some things padded and got a box here. Let's kind of open up some of these and see what's in here. They're not labeled. I'm not quite sure what they are. Let's go ahead. Alright, so on top here, you guys look. Alright, we've got our wiring harness that will go to the MVS. Okay, so there's that. Alright, let's take a look and see what's in this next bag. See, in here we have the power harness. This looks like it goes directly to the Hunterix power supply, so this will be a nice, quick, easy plug and play. And it has our leads for our power that goes to the control board that Lee has made, and the ends are already stripped for us. Let's see if there's anything else here in this bag. Yep. And here we also have some hardware, the PCB standoff feet and the screws to mount the LED panels. Go ahead and put those back in the bag and we'll open up the next one. Alright, some bubble wrap. All these are bubble wrap. These must be all of the EL panels. So I'm not going to open all of them, but I will open one and we'll see what it looks like. So here we go. Let's open up the first one. Okay, let's see what we got here. Alright, would you look at that? Okay, so here is not the EL panel, but the LED panel. It's got wiring here that will go to the board. Got a black and a red for a positive and our negative. And, yep, they go right in here. Maybe you guys can see that right into the bottom, and they come out, and we'll just run that right over the board. That seems simple enough, right? Don't you think? They're all the same, and we'll be good to go. That's not bad at all. Okay, let's take a look at the box that's in there next. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the box and see what's in here. This is going to be the control board for the Neo Geo MVS Marquee system we got going on. I'll take that out. Alright, so there we go. There is the board that he's been working on. Let's take it out and take a quick look. Alright, so here we go. Let's take a quick look at this. So, this is, indeed, if you guys can see this, the Neo Geo LED Mini Marquee Control version 1 from leejsmith, a.k.a. DJ Legion, 2018. And as you guys know, it's early 2018 right now, so this is pretty exciting. This is hot off the press. Well, hot off the soldering iron. How about that? So let's take a quick look. So we've got up here, we've got our power supply in, and they're labeled with our positive and negative 12 volts. We've got our header pin here that goes to the MVS. We also have, looks like a dimmer switch here, and a switch to go to the next panel. Plus this looks like this is the Arduino board that he programmed for this system. And then down here on the bottom we have the 4 different connectors that will go to each LED panel. And up here we've got different LEDs that will light, looks like they will be lighting up as it sends power to each panel. So you can actually confirm that, you know what, this is working as it should be, which I think is a smart move, because I wish Neo Geo did that back in the day so I could tell which panels on mine were dead. Alright, so there you go, there's the board. Okay, and we'll go ahead now and we'll start taking apart the Neo Geo and see if we get this installed. What I think I might do is just test it all first before I go ahead and actually, you know, do a hardwire install. We'll test it out of the Neo Geo first, and we'll go from there. But there you go, nice little board. Fits in the palm of your hand, so it won't take up much space at all behind the Marquee. All right, well, let's go open up the Neo Geo. Now, one way you're going to be able to connect the power to the control panel board is by using a connector that DJ Legion has made. Now, this is a prototype, so this connector is not going to work for mine, but he's planning on making several different connectors that are going to work. And what you'll be able to do is just kind of plug this directly in and then connect your power supply into the other end, and you'll just run the power directly on up to the control panel for the LED panels there. The next thing you're going to need to do to attach the power wire is to locate the 12-volt line and the ground. Now in the Neo Geo, oftentimes the 12-volt line is the yellow line here, as well as the ground, which would be black. Now there's several different ways you can connect to it. I'm actually going to de-pin this harness and attach it in that way, but you can use the connector that Lee provides you, or you can use a quick splice. Now the quick splice is easily obtainable at any auto parts store, and basically all that does is you take this, you have your new wire coming out of it, you wrap it around your wire here, and you close this little door here and you pinch everything shut like that. And what it does is it pushes that little metal part into both wires, and that's a nice easy way to attach the power to it. You're going to want to get the one for the 20 to 22 gauge. This is not quite the right size. This is for a little bit thicker gauge wire, such as the 18 to 14 gauge, which these are not. But that's one easy way to connect the power to the 12-volt line for your LED panels. Now, because this is a prototype and I don't have the exact harness that Lee has, I'm going to de-pin my connector using a deepening tool. You can pick this up for about $8 or so off of Radio Shack, if you can still find a Radio Shack near you, or you can get it online. But all you're going to go ahead and do is depin the yellow 12-volt line and one of the ground lines, and then we will add in the wire to it. So the next thing you're going to want to do is locate the 12-volt yellow line and the ground line. The 12-volt line, which is what you're going to use for the panels, and all you do is you take your pin extractor tool, put it on that pin, push it in nice and hard, and then you push this lever out here and it should just kind of pop out. Okay? So there is our 12-volt line, and then we'll go ahead and we'll do the same thing for the ground that we're going to use. Now any of these black wires here are the ground. So I'm just going to take this one out here on the end, put this in, push it in nice and tight, and then pop that out. So there we go. Now we've got our 12-volt, which is our yellow, and our black, which is our ground. The next thing you're going to go ahead and do is remove these pins, because you can't use them anymore. And you want to make sure that you actually have some new pins handy. So I've got 2 new pins here, and these are just standard 0.093 pins here. These are the male sides, so that you just want to make sure you continue with using the male. We'll just go ahead and we'll snip these off. Okay. Once you've done that, you want to go ahead and strip your wires back. You don't need much. less than 1/4 of an inch, and I'm stuck using this ancient thing here. I lost my wire strippers. I literally had them 5 minutes ago. I hate these. I really do. You know, I probably would have to use the red side. There you go. That would be why I hate them. I always pick the wrong size. Alright, there's the yellow. And we'll do my black. So we've got our 2 wires here. Just go ahead and start twisting things together now. Keep everything, you know, matched up. So we're going to do black and black and red to yellow. Red's going to be our 12 volts going up to the control board. And black will be our ground. Alright, so you twist these little wires here together the best you can. You've got your pin here. You're going to line it up so that this larger one here on the outside holds on to the rubber wire part, the insulation, and the other one, the inside one, goes around the metal part of the wire. Then you're going to want to use a wire crimping tool such as this. You used to be able to get these from Bob Roberts, but I think you can still pick them up from other guys. We'll go ahead and crimp this down. And you'll come out and you'll do the outside. Push these together a little bit. Right. Kind of like that. I'm trying to see if you guys can see that. Alright. There you go. Now we've got our wire there. And I'll just take a pair of pliers and I'll bend this other part in. That's just how it came off of the roll. We'll go ahead and do that to the red and the yellow as well. Let's go ahead and put the pin on these 2 wires here. Go ahead and clamp this down. And then we'll do the outer one. And there we go, we've got our 12 volt line in. I'll clean up this pin because the way these pins are, they're these things that flare on the side, so we'll go ahead and kind of close those together so it slides back into the connector, and we're pretty much ready to wire this thing up. So now that we got those done, we're just going to go ahead and put these back into the connector. The ground was the one here on this side, so we'll go ahead and we'll just push that in. It snaps right in place. Okay, give that a tug to make sure it doesn't come out. And our 12 volt line was here in that middle connector, so go ahead and we'll put that in. Just push that in until it clicks. Sometimes it clicks. Okay. There we go. A little bit tight with 2 wires. Alright, yeah, but it's in. And there we go. We're back to an original connector. I can run this power. I'll go ahead and connect that up to the control board. Alright, so I've got the Neo Geo off. I'm going to go ahead and remove the Marquee panel here so that I can get access to the EL panels that Neo Geo had made, and that way I can put in the new ones that Lee has made for us. So I'll just go over really quick how to take the Marquee out, which is self-explanatory probably to every Neo Geo owner out there because they change out the mini Marquee panels for their current games. But just in case you don't know how to do that, just go ahead and unlock this door here. This drops down. Then you can go ahead and take this Marquee panel out. Once the Marquee is off, you have access to your EL panels. Now, just in case you don't know how these EL panels are removed, you can just take off the EL panels by undoing these little screws here and just loosen that. You'll need to take that off all the way right now. And these two panels will come off. Okay. Behind this EL panel there is a wire that connects to the control board. You'll also need to undo that. And one other thing that you can do to make your life easier is to actually take off this board. Now there's two screws here, 1 and 2, and all you need to do is just loosen those and this whole board comes off, and that's what I'm going to do to show you that. But before I do that, I'm going to try to be a little bit smart about this because I'm not quite sure how to place these yet since this is a prototype. But I think what I'm going to do is make some marks so I know where the bottom of this panel lines up over here and where kind of where the center is between these two. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. So let me go ahead, I'm going to do that now. I'm just going to take my pencil and put a little mark here so I know where the bottom of that panel is. And I'm going to mark over here kind of where the center is between these two panels. I'll do the center over here. So it's about right there. And we'll kind of go over here as well. Now when we have the centers, we'll be able to match up the panels, and I think what Lee told me is that I can actually butt them right up next to each other, so we'll see how that works. One other thing to note is, this is actually kind of nice that Lee did on his part, is this is the prototype panel here, and his panel is a little bit wider than the original, which gives you some room for error. So if you don't have it lined up perfectly, you're still going to be lighting up the entire mini marquee panel that you've got there. And it's also a little bit taller, so you're not going to have necessarily some wasted space. Now, I don't know if you recall mine, but you could, sometimes these just don't line up perfectly, but you can't really tell because, well, the mini marquee is in the way. But this way, everything will be lit up nice and bright and evenly throughout it, and you don't have to worry about lining things up too much anyway. So there we go. So we made a mark here to mark the bottom, a mark here for the center between these two, and we put a mark here for the bottom of this one, and a center mark up here. All I did is just come and go out, kind of eyeballed it as far as the center is. I'm not going to trace it because his panel is obviously smaller, and all I need to do is make sure I get 2 screw holes in on every single one, which I think I will be able to do. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove this board. I've already gone ahead and disconnected the wire back there, and if you don't disconnect it now or before you do it, it's fine. There's enough slack. We'll go ahead and undo that. Now, one reason I did make those marks is because I don't think these things will always hold true, and I'm afraid that when I take this out, these might move. I'm actually leaving those secure for now, but we'll see. So once those two are loose, this just comes out like this. You just want to make sure you disconnect all the wires in the back, and you're good to go. I've already done that just to make my life a little bit easier, but there you go. So I pulled that panel out. I've got it over here on the coffee table because why not? And I just want to recap with you where I put my marks. I've got a mark down here indicating the bottom of this panel. I've got a mark over here on this side indicating the bottom of this panel. I also put a mark up here kind of in the center or between these two panels so I know where the center is. The center is somewhere around there. And I also did the same thing over here. That way I know I've got some points to line everything up with. And it just gives me a rough idea of where everything should go. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm actually going to take off these two panels, and it's just these two tabs here holding them in, nothing else. I mean, you can lift them up. I should probably slide them out without even undoing these. Just give it a quick loosen. Okay, those slide out, and out comes this panel. We'll just set this off to the side. So I've got all the panels out, and I want to thank Lee for doing this. He made each one a different color. So I've got a red with a black ground, green with a black ground, orange with a black ground, and yellow with a black ground, which is awesome because I went ahead and made myself little numbered tabs anyway, which I'm still going to put on here because I probably won't remember the order, but I'm going to go ahead and just kind of tape these on so I know which panel is going to be what. So I'm going to have, you know, my order I will probably forget. So let's see. There we go. There's number 2. Okay, so I'm going to take my prototype panel. Now, if you guys remember, these panels are a little bit bigger, and that gives us some wiggle room, okay, which is good. That's a good thing. So we all have a little bit of extra going from top to bottom, and a little bit extra going from side to side, and that's not an issue at all as far as what you'll actually see. So, trying to think here. So, you know, I've got my mark, my center mark here, and I just kind of want to play with this, and my bottom mark here. Now, see if I go like this. Okay, so I line up my bottom mark. My tabs are kind of tight coming off the bottom. I could bump it up a little bit, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm actually going to turn the panel around. I think with the panel turned around like this, and this lined up to the bottom, I actually get the tab on here a little bit better. And then the wires actually come out the top, this side, the thicker side anyway, and that gives me more room to go through and run my wire. So I'm just going to start, I think, lay things out. I think this is what I'm going to go ahead and do. I'm going to go ahead and I think I'll start lining things up, and I'll see where everything ends up. So I've got all 4 of the new panels about where they're going to go, but I figured, you know what, I've got the old panel, so what I'm going to do is just make some quick marks and transfer over where the edges were. I'm using the fade here that you can actually kind of see. The sun fade will be a good place to line it up, but what I'm going to do is take the edges of these panels here and just kind of transfer them up, just so I have a ballpark of where everything should line up, you know, left to right. Even though I did mark the center, I just want to make it a little bit easier for myself and give you guys a tip on how to keep everything lined up and make it nice and quick and easy for yourself to do. So let me show what I mean. I'm just going to come over here to the side, and I'll do a couple. So what I'm going to do is just take a ruler and my pencil. I see that my EL panel ends here. I'm just going to kind of transfer the edge. Alright, I'll do the same thing here. And this doesn't need to be super precise. It's just kind of giving you some marks to go by. And I'll come over here and I'll do this one as well. I'm not sure if we'll be able to see that one, but oop, I forgot this one. This just gives us some lines to go by, so I'll go ahead and do the rest, and we'll play with getting everything lined up. I made all my marks for each one. So I've got the first one, the second one. Oh, I forgot the third one. Let's just do that real quick. Third one right here. And the fourth one over there. So I'm going to take this out of the way. And let's go ahead and see what we can do as far as lining everything up goes. So remember, we've got our bottom mark here. Let's kind of see how it works. Now, remember, this is bigger, so I'm just going to try to center it on here the best I can. And that's the first one. And get that wire out of the way, bring this down, let's see. So I'm not going to be able to see, there's my line. I'll come over here. And these two look like they're actually going to be pretty close. Those look like they're going to be touching, that's okay. I'll come over here and we'll do the third one. So there are my two lines. We'll line it up so they're centered on here. And it's about centered right there. We'll make sure this matches up with the bottom of the other one. And we'll come over here and we'll do the fourth one as well. So So there are my two marks. We'll line that up. Yeah, something like that. So it looks like, if I'm looking at this, it looks like these two you can butt up next to each other, and those two you can butt up next to each other. Yeah, about like that anyway. Let's check this one. Yeah, I'd say that. Or I'd say it's pretty close anyway. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll get everything kind of tightened up where I want it to go, and then we'll screw everything in. Now, just in case any of you are wondering, I did get my ruler out and actually kind of measure the distance in between the two. If I measure this one, it's about 3/4 of an inch from the EL panel to this other EL panel. And this distance here in the middle, which we said was a little bit bigger when we put it down, is just over 7/8. I do know this is taped together, but these are put up pretty close to each other. So that's about 7/8. So this distance is a little bit wider. And we'll check over here. And that's back to about 3/4 of an inch. So this middle gap is a little bit bigger. But I think, you know, when I measure it on the panel, like this, okay, the distance in between, the red distance, is definitely over 7/8. We've got 15/16 there, 15/16 there, and 15/16 there. So these are actually all evenly spaced on the Marquee, just not on the EL panels on the board. So you're going to want to make sure that everything's kind of centered, and I think that will be okay. So what we'll do real quick is we'll take off the Marquee. We'll take off the original EL panel. We'll lay this over. After we've got everything lined up, let's kind of make sure everything's lined up. And we're just going to lay everything over top real quick to just make sure. Yeah, that's going to work. Does it look like it's going to work? I think that's going to work. That'll work. It's not an exact science, but I just want to show you how quick and easy it is to do once you've got everything set up. So that's what it is. So I transferred over some marks, made my bottom mark for where the bottom of the EL panel should be, or the new LED panels, sorry, and how they should be kind of centered on there. And we're good to go. So I'll go ahead and get the screw ready and we'll put those in. Alright, let's go ahead and start putting some screws in. I did put a piece of tape down on the first one as I do it, just so it doesn't move around while I'm putting the first screw in. Let's go ahead and do that. And just so you guys know, this is what the screw looks like. You're going to want to use a number 1 bit, which is just the slightly smaller than your standard size bit. And we only need 2 screws to hold this in, so I think what I'm going to do is put a screw here and a screw in the diagonal opposite corner. So let's go ahead and do this bottom one first. Alright, so that first screw is in. We'll go ahead and put the second. We'll make sure that this is nice and lined up here. It's being straight. Okay, I think that's pretty good. And let's go ahead and put that other screw in up top. You don't need to go super tight with it. It's not a car or anything. And there we go. That's the first one in. I'm going to continue down the line and we'll do the rest. I'll just make sure everything's lined up along the way. And we'll have all the panels in. So there we go, we have all 4 EL panels mounted. There's a little gap in the middle, which I think will be okay. And let's go ahead real quick and just test to make sure when I put this over it, we're good. We are. So there we go. So now the key is that when we put this back in, to make sure that they're still covered when we do that. Which honestly they should be, because you're going to be putting a mini Marquee inside of it anyway, so that would cover up anything that you're going to see. So the next thing I'm going to do is take the wood panel, I'm going to put it back in where it was originally. I'm not going to put the screws in yet, just in case I have to move things, but I have to figure out where to put the control board anyway. But here's where I've got the new LED panels. I've got these 2 butted up next to each other along here in the middle, and I have these 2 here on the right butted up next to each other along the middle. I did leave a gap in the middle here because that's how the original EL panels were. There's a little bit of space in between, and when I measured the distance on the actual Marquee itself, there was a little bit more of a distance between panels 2 and 3. So I'm hoping everything lines up when I go ahead and put my original Marquee back in. So let's go ahead and do that now. There are 2 screws that need to go in here, but this is going to stay for this test. So we'll go ahead and we'll slide this in. We also want to make sure we've got enough clearance up here at the top. So we'll put that in, push this bottom bracket up, lock it, and we take a quick look. Yeah, it looks like we're good. So I've got all 4 panels, and I don't see any black from the original, I'm sorry, from the new LED panel. So I think this is good. So the next thing I'm going to do is mount the control board somewhere. I think I'm going to mount it behind the wood panel like it was originally. But the other option you could do is you could mount it kind of down low here. You could put it in here underneath the control panel, so you can adjust the dimness. But I think honestly, once I've got it set once, I'm never going to adjust it again. That's just to kind of fine-tune things. But so I don't think I'm going to put it there. I think I'm going to put it up here. I'll wire everything in, bundle up all the wires, and then that way all I have to do is kind of come in and hook up the power when I put that wood panel back in. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out. We'll put the control board on and start wiring everything up. So the next thing I'm going to do is get the PCB feet ready for mounting. And the PCB feet are these little plastic feet that just stand the board off from the wood. So we'll go ahead and we'll mount those real quick. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just undo the screw and put a new screw in. Now I was talking with Lee, now because this is the prototype, he did say that he has fixed how these capacitors are mounted here on the back side, so that is no longer an issue. So I just wanted to make sure that it is clear that this is a prototype and he's working on, he's already made some improvements on how this thing is working. Alright, there's one. I'll go ahead and finish up the rest, and we'll go ahead and mount this to the back of the board. So I have all 4 of the PCB feet mounted. We'll go ahead and flip over the board with the LED panels, and I'm going to mount this one to the back, I think. I mean, other people may want to mount it by the control panel, but I'm going to mount this to the back. So before I actually mount it, I do want to think about it. Up here is the top of that of the board, and I want to make sure that I'm running all my wires in a nice, convenient way. So I do have these openings here that will allow me to run the wires through. So when I flip it over, I can kind of take that into consideration. So I'll put it down on the bubble wrap. Okay, I do like that Lee color coded all these, so at least I know which ones are different. This will allow me to kind of pull the wires through all the openings here. So if we take a look, I've got an opening here for the for panel 1. Let's just verify that this is indeed panel 1. There it is, panel 1. Pull that kind of off to the side. We've got panel 2 over here. And my tangled mess from moving everything back and forth many times. So I've untangled my wires. As you can see, you've got plenty of length to figure out where you want to put the control board. And I think I'm going to put it right here. What this allows me to do is put the cable that goes to the MVS here, and I will put all the panels here on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that gives me plenty of room to kind of tape up all the excess wire. I'm not going to cut it to length where you could do that. You could just cut it and strip the wires back to fit your need, but I'm going to leave all the wiring intact for now because I'm just not sure what I'm going to do in the future. So let's go ahead and we're going to try that. So I'm going to put the board somewhere in here. I'm going to put a couple screws in just to hold it down for now, and then we'll start wiring everything in. So because this is a prototype, I think I'm just going to put 2 screws in for now. Go something like right here. There's one. We'll go to the opposite corner. Alright, that's not going anywhere. Then we go ahead and back out all my terminal screws here. You will need a small flathead screwdriver to do that. And then let's just go ahead and start mounting them. Now, they are marked, so when you're looking at this, let's see if I can pull this up so you can see it. The terminal closest to you is positive, and that would mean the second one is the negative on each terminal. So it goes plus minus, plus minus, plus minus, etc. And that's how we're going to do it. We're going to treat black as negative or the minus. We'll go ahead and start plugging in some of these wires here. Alright, so let's finish this up. My memory card was full partway through that clip there, so we'll go ahead and we'll put back the 4th panel wiring in. I don't know if you guys just heard that, but I'm out here in New England, and the temperature today went from 60 degrees to below freezing in a matter of hours, so it's my vinyl siding popping. That happens. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4 wires. All secured. The only thing that we will need to connect is the cable to the MVS and the power. I'm going to go ahead and bundle up all these wires and stick them off to the side for now. So for the sake of this prototype, I have all my wires bundled up just to save me some headache down the road. I'm just going to take one more piece of blue painter's tape. We're going to tape them all together and just kind of stick them on the back of this panel here, so they're not going to go anywhere when I move things around. But, you know, if I knew I was going to permanently mount this, maybe I would cut my wires shorter, so I don't need all this extra. But if you're going to run it down to the bottom by the control panel, you're going to want to leave them longer, and maybe just take a couple zip ties and screw everything together. So let's go ahead and take this panel and put it back into the Neo Geo, connect our power, and connect our cable that goes to the MVS. So the next thing I'm going to do is connect the cable that goes to the MVS and the power cable here. Now, as you can see, maybe I taped the power cable back here because if you're smart, you'll tape it, because if you're not smart like me, you'll knock the power cable back down into the bottom of the cabinet like 10 times and then have to fish it back through. So be smart. Tape it up off to the side if you're going to run the power up that way, just so you don't have to go fishing it back through again. But anyway, so I'm going to connect those two. Now you can use the original MVS cable, because what Lee has done is he has actually made sure that the 5 volts from the MVS cable doesn't actually go anywhere. So it has, the power just stops. It's not going to damage the board or anything if you do that, but he does provide you with a cable as well. So if your cable is damaged or you want to replace it anyway, you can go ahead and do that. So we're going to go ahead and we'll plug those 2 cables in. So we'll go ahead and we'll do, see if we can mount this in here some way. We'll go ahead and we'll mount the power. Now the power is marked. Let's see if I can show you this. It is marked with a positive on the left and a negative on the right. Remember, we said that the positive was going to be red and the negative would be black, and that's going to be the 12 volts that we tapped into with the power supply. Now either using the power connector that he provides you, or you can go ahead and connect it in yourself depending on your power supply. So we'll go ahead, see if you guys can see this. There's the red one in, and we'll secure that down. Then we'll do our ground and do the same thing. And when you're mounting this, he actually has labeled how that connector from the MVS should go. I know you probably can't see it on the camera, but the left side is marked with ground, which on the MVS cable is black. So we're just going to go ahead and plug this cable in so that the black lines up. And you could mount this both ways, I suppose. You want to keep ground going to the left. Just like that. Okay, so we've got the black cable over here on the left. Then we'll go ahead and we're going to mount this. And I think before I screw it in, we'll test it all to make sure that it's working. So let's go ahead and we'll put that in like so. And there'll be 2 screws that will mount to hold that panel in. Okay, let's go ahead and test it. We'll test it by turning the power on. Now it does do its own self-test just to make sure that everything is working. So when it does its self-test, it will light up all of the panels that you have, whether it's the 2 slot, the 4 slot, or the 6 slot. It should cycle through all of them when the game is initially turned on, and then it will go to the game that is selected. So let's go ahead and turn it on and see what happens. First panel, second, third, fourth. Excellent. Hey, that looks pretty slick. And you know what? those are plenty bright. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put the Marquee in and see what it looks like all lit up. Now I don't actually have 4 cartridges for my Neo Geo. Been waiting to get some, so but I do have 2, so we should be able to select between the 2, and it will go to the second one. And you can see how it's lit. So he does have that little LED strip there, but it's nicely diffused throughout the entire thing there. Okay, let's go ahead and put the Marquee in. So I've gone ahead and put my Marquee panel in, and let's go ahead and turn this on so we can see what it looks like. First, second, third, and fourth. Let me see if I can zoom in for you. Okay, so I can see the LEDs up here on this one. I think what I might do is just take a piece of electrical tape and run it across, and I think that might block all that out, and then I think we'll be good to go. I think that's the only thing I'm going to need to do here. I mean, otherwise this prototype, I'm telling you, this thing's pretty slick, and that's pretty nicely lit. So let me kill the house lights in here and so we can see what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the game on. I've got the house lights mostly off. Let's see what it looks like. So it's going to do its test. And there we go. Looks a little bit more blue on the screen, I think, than it does in person. Now, I will tell you, this is not an original MVS Mini Marquee. This has been printed on photo paper. So, let me see if I can zoom in for you. There you go. I'm sure a Mini Marquee would look better, but that's what it looks like. Now I do think I'm going to put a piece of electrical tape across the top so I don't see those little lights, but you may like that feature. I don't know. That's kind of a neat little thing going on there, but I'll talk to Lee about that and see what he thinks he should do with this prototype. So I've got the game back in the row, and as you can see, I can see the LED lights up here, but because this is a prototype, I'm going to try something to see if we can cover that up. I'm just going to take the Marquee off real quick, and I got an idea. We don't have a whole lot of room to work with up here. It is a little bit tight with the Marquee in, so let's take this out. You can see the LED lights shining through. But what I'd like to try is to see if we can cover that up from showing through. So got a piece of electrical tape. I'm just going to take this piece of electrical tape and I'm going to put it over here on the first one. And this is thin, doesn't take up a whole lot of space, and it should block all the light. Let's make sure we get it centered. Okay, there we go. We'll just put that there. We'll go back to the first game and alright. I don't see it now. Let's see if what happens when we put the Marquee in. There you go, and you can actually see that I didn't line it up, but I don't see those lights there anymore. So that's something that could possibly work. We just got to figure out a way to keep those LED lights from showing through, and with that electrical tape there, you don't see it, other than the fact that I didn't line it up very well, but there you go. I will think that I might turn down the brightness just a little bit so that my colors don't get too washed out, because this is not an original MVS Marquee, so I'm going to turn it down just a little bit, I think. So to dim this, it's pretty easy to do. All you need to do is just adjust the dimmer switch here. See if I can show this to you. This little dimmer switch here on the board, and let me see if I can manage to get that over there for you. Okay, so here's the board running, and I have it mounted on the back. Now to dim it, you just turn this little knob here or make it brighter. I've got it set down pretty low. turn it up to where you want it to be. You have to hit this reset button in here. Okay, so you turn that knob, you hit that reset button, and the whole thing resets. And you've got a new brightness, and you can see that that's brighter. And when you come back up, your panel should be bright. Let me see if I can zoom back out so you can see that. So I've got that set up. Not all the way, but that's up a fair amount. If I want to turn that down, we'll go ahead and drop this down. Come over here and I'll turn my knob down. Okay. Then I'll hit my reset. Everything lights up. You let go. And it's dimmer. Not sure if the camera captures that for you or not, but that's how you dim it. It's pretty easy to do. Just kind of dial it in where you'd like it, and that's that. So one concern I know that Lee had when he was talking about doing this is the clearance with the panels down here and the Marquee. Now it is tight. I don't have an issue getting the bracket on. In fact, I didn't even need to take it off for this, but I do want to show you something you can do if this situation is just kind of too tight and you don't like where it's sitting. So I've got the bottom part of my Marquee closed and resting there, and you guys can see it's sitting here. And then what I would do is I would just take your upper Marquee bracket. Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll line that up and put it on, and just go to where you find it that it's just kind of nice and comfortable. Now I bet you're going to find that the holes may actually still line up. In my case, they line up. Now, if they don't line up, you're going to have to move it out just enough so that the screws have something to bite onto. I would just put your new screws in right there. Okay. Now it's okay if these Marquees move. Half the games I have, the Marquees are like that anyway, but that'll give you some breathing room in there. And remember, these games aren't going anywhere anyway. But that's one thing you could do. So I would just line it up to where you see fit. If it is tight, if it's not tight, just leave it. In my case, it actually works. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'll put everything back in, and I'll put the screw in. And you may actually find that just by releasing the tension when you put this on, it could be enough. So go ahead and put my screws back in over here. There's just 3 screws up here. Pretty easy to undo. And you could also just loosen them if you're worried. You don't even have to take it off all the way. Just loosen this so that way this has some wiggle room. Okay, it doesn't have a lot of wiggle room, but it'll give you some. Then you can actually just kind of make sure that your Marquee has got some free play there. You don't need a lot. That's if you don't want it upright, tight to the panel. So I'm good, so I'll go ahead and I'll put my screws in and we will be good to go. And that's that. So there you go. That's what you can do with the top Marquee bracket if things are tight. Now I do have some wiggle room now. And that's all it took, is just loosening this to give yourself some breathing room and then putting the screws back down. All right, there you go. The prototype version of Lee Smith's Neo Geo mini Marquee LED panels is installed, and it's working as it should be. I think this is an awesome prototype you've got going on for you, Lee, and I can't wait to see what the final product looks like. One thing I may do on mine, I'm not sure yet, is take some black electrical tape and just kind of go around the outside here so that I don't get this bleed. And that, I mean, it may not bother some of you guys. It's up to you, but that's just because the mini Marquee panels that he made are slightly bigger. They're actually the size of the mini Marquee insert versus what you can actually see. But other than that, I think this is great. I think this is going to work out very nicely, and it's awesome. Lee, this is awesome. Alright guys, there you go. If you have any questions about the installation, please feel free to leave a comment and I'll help you out the best I can. It was a pretty straightforward installation. Let me just recap it for you real quick. Alright, let's just do a quick recap on how we did this installation for the new LED mini marquee panels. So underneath the full marquee, you can see we have all the new LED panels here. And once you mount those, you just mount your control board wherever you like it. I, in this case, mounted it right where the original was, here on the back, and it has the dimmer switch there, and you just run all your wires right into the control board. Black is ground, and they're each different colors so you can keep track of everything. And then you'll use the MVS cable, or you can use Lee's provided cable to connect it from the motherboard to this board to control, you know, which panel is lit. And you run your power up for the 12 volts. You can either use his provided connector that goes straight into your harness. I know he's got one made for the Hantrix power supply. I think he's also working on one for the Peter Chow version, and he will probably be making more as other people do different power supplies. But you can connect it directly to the 12 volt line like I did. I made it myself, you know, new pins. I know not everybody can do that, but you can use the kind of the crimps to just tap right into the original wiring there. You can pick those up at any auto parts store. And once you've got your power and everything connected, you're good to go. Adjust your brightness and call it a day. Now I think because this is a prototype, I do have the black piece of electrical tape here that kind of covers up the actual LEDs. If you can see it when I select, these will show through on the marquee once you install that. But a piece of black electrical tape for right now on this prototype is working just fine. So I can't wait to see what he does with the final product. And as always, if you have any other questions, please feel free to let me know. Alright guys, take it easy and thanks for watching.